Throughout history, African nations have grappled with the legacy of colonialism and the complexities of their relationships with former colonial powers. Today, we shed light on the historical, economic, and political dynamics that shape this ongoing debate, exploring the reasons why some African leaders are trying to reduce France's influence on the continent. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel where we delve into the complex geopolitical issues shaping the world today. In today's video, we explore long-standing tensions between African nations and France, focusing on why some African leaders have expressed a desire to reduce France's influence on the continent. Let's begin. To understand the present situation, we need to go back in time. Colonialism had a profound effect on Africa as various European powers dominated the continent for centuries. Like other colonial powers, France exerted its influence over large territories through military conquest and resource exploitation. French colonialism reached its peak in the late 19th and early 20th centuries with the infamous Scramble for Africa. France established colonies across West Africa, Central Africa, North Africa, and the Indian Ocean, leaving lasting scars on the social, political, and economic landscape of the region. The struggle for independence freed African nations from colonial rule, but the legacy of colonialism remained. France retained control over key aspects of governance, economy, and security in its former colonies, leading to complex relations after independence. Since his first term in office in 2017, French President Emmanuel Macron has sought to comprehensively reframe national strategies, relationships, and interventions in Africa due to France's complex and checkered historical legacy on the continent. During a diplomatic visit to Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, in November 2017, President Macron surprisingly admitted that France no longer has a grand strategy for diplomacy on the continent. He reiterated the need for both sides to acknowledge their shared history and rebuild their political relations. France now wants to pursue a foreign policy with its African partners based on a more equal footing. However, such attempts at a diplomatic reset have been largely limited by bureaucratic infighting, controversial policy choices, transactional economic and aid policies, and a military-led security policy that has failed to curb extremism, to adapt to social and political transformations in the Sahel and the region. It is against this backdrop that President Macron shared his vision for a new partnership with Africa on February 27, 2023, before embarking on a four-country visit to Gabon, Angola, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the Republic of the Congo. At the heart of this strategy was his desire to address the legacy of French colonialism in Francophone countries and call for a new, balanced, reciprocal, and responsible relationship with Africa, respecting African identities. France now wants to pursue a foreign policy with its African partners based on a more equal footing. The decision to enter a new era in France's relationship with Africa comes at a time when France's influence on the continent is waning. Street protests fueled by anti-French sentiment are becoming a regular feature in many West and North African countries. France's traditional sphere of influence, known as the Francophone, which held the French after decolonization, has become increasingly threatened and unsustainable over time. At the same time, African countries have sought to diversify their basket of external partners to reduce their dependence on Western aid. Today's multipolar world has meant that countries of the global south, such as China, India, and Turkey, provide an alternative development model for African countries to follow. France has played a leading role in African politics and often intervenes in regional conflicts. While some argue that these interventions help stabilize some regions, others see them as attempts to maintain control and protect French interests. In some cases, French intervention has been resented and accused of neocolonialism. African leaders have expressed concern over France's approach to security cooperation, citing incidents where French-led military operations have had unintended consequences, further destabilizing the region. Over the past 5 years, France's military and security role in Africa, particularly in the Sahel region, has come under criticism and public scrutiny. Paris' security-based approach continues to be mired in heavy military action in countries such as Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad, and the Central African Republic. For the most part, France framed its role in Africa as a counter-terrorism security provider at the heart of its engagement. This approach became visible with the start of Operation Serval in Mali in 2013, which was renamed Operation Birkin in 2014. The operation was unable to address growing security and governance issues in Mali and officially ended with the withdrawal on November 9, 2022. French troops and military resources, a combination of factors such as the Mali military coup and the expulsion of the French ambassador to Mali, gave French policymakers an opportunity to withdraw definitively. The withdrawal eventually forced the Sahelian countries to turn to Russian military contractors Wagner Group to fill the defense vacuum. A combination of factors, such as the Mali military coup and the expulsion of the French ambassador to Mali, gave French policymakers an opportunity to withdraw definitively. Currently, France's African policy is dominated by the security dimension. It is in Paris' interest to maintain a military presence in the region. This is not only to limit Russian influence on the continent, but also to realize that any instability in Africa poses a direct threat to Europe's security due to their geographical proximity. One crucial benefit of such a change in approach is that a refocus away from security should reveal the true depth and multifaceted nature of the Franco-African relationship. In recent years, France has begun to build rapprochement with its colonial past in Algeria, Rwanda, and Cameroon, notably through the establishment of historical commissions. It also passed a parliamentary bill on the return of cultural goods to Benin and Senegal. In his speech, Macron expressed a desire for new draft legislation to strengthen this policy, as well as a pan-European dynamic of initiatives in this area, for example, through a new Franco-German fund for precautionary research. This politics of memory, although urgent and necessary, is only one part of a wider dialogue between societies and peoples in France and Africa. France's economic relations with Africa remain a matter of considerable contention. Many African nations, especially those in the Francophone region, maintain financial relations through the CFA franc, a currency backed by the French treasury. Critics argue that this arrangement maintains economic dependence on France, inhibiting the development and independence of these countries. Furthermore, concerns have been raised about the exploitation of African resources by French companies. France's multinational companies have long been accused of extracting natural resources from African countries without adequate benefit sharing and contributing to environmental degradation. Critics say this economic imbalance undermines African sovereignty, cripples local industries, perpetuates the continent's cycle of poverty, and ultimately pushes leaders to seek greater independence from France's economic grip. Macron addressed the great potential in his speech, announcing further support for African entrepreneurship and diaspora projects and more solidarity and partnership-based investments. To build on this, in June, France will host the Summit for a New Global Financial Pact, co-steered with India. The summit could result in a boost in innovative financing by rich countries for those states most affected by climate change, which could also improve those countries' budget capacities and reduce their debt burdens. Furthermore, on his trip to Central Africa, Macron highlighted environmental protection in Gabon, agriculture in Angola, and culture in Brazzaville and Kinshasa. This can all contribute to a genuinely reciprocal, demanding, and ambitious partnership with Africa. France hosts the largest African diaspora in Europe, and 14% of French immigrants live in Africa. Africa is home to the largest number of French speakers in the world. French and African societies and cultures are in constant exchange, with various African artists exhibiting and producing their work in France. Recent data show that a growing number of Africans study in France, which remains the leading destination worldwide for students from sub-Saharan Africa. This is underpinned by strong university and scientific cooperation. Economic ties between France and Africa are also diverse, and there is a growing presence in Africa of French startups in many innovative fields, particularly in the digital and energy transitions. Finally, the desire of some African leaders to reduce France's influence on the continent can be attributed to a complex interplay of historical, economic, and political factors. The legacy of colonialism, economic dependence, political interference, and military presence have all contributed to tensions in Franco-African relations. As African nations continue to seek greater autonomy and pursue their own development agendas, engaging in constructive dialogue and cooperation is critical for all parties involved. The path to a more stable, prosperous, and united Africa can only be paved through mutually respectful partnerships. We hope this video sheds light on this complex subject. If you found this content informative, please share it with others. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see more important videos like this. Thank you for watching. See you next time.